In the quiet Igbo village surrounded by dense forests, there lived a peculiar young lady called Ola. She was unlike anyone else in the village. Ola was unusually short, with a rounded face and large eyes that made her appear childlike. Her stature earned her the unkind name Nwa Ingi Ingi, means little dwarf, and she endured endless ridicule from both children and adults alike. People whispered behind her back and sometimes openly mocked her, pointing and laughing at her as she walked by. Despite the teasing, Ola maintained a quiet demeanor, never responding to the village cruelty. She avoided the market square, where the loudest voices jeered at her, but unknown to all, Olama harbored a dangerous secret. Deep within her heart, she nurtured a darkness that no one could fathom. One fateful morning, Olama walked to the village stream to fetch water. A group of young boys, led by a mischievous Chijoke, spotted her. "Look at her tiny legs," Chijoke shouted, drawing laughter from the others. "Careful, or she might disappear into the stream," another boy teased. The boys surrounded her, clapping and mocking, while Ola stood still, clutching her water pot tightly. Tears welled in her eyes, but she said nothing. When she returned home, she sat by the fire, her eyes mixed with smoke. Her aunt, the only person who cared for her, asked, "Why do you let them mock you? Speak up for yourself, my child." But Ola shook her head. "One day, they will learn," she whispered to herself. Late at night, when the village slept, Ola often ventured into the forest. She would sit under a great iroko tree, her eyes glowing unnaturally in the moonlight. Her body would slowly transform, her legs merging into a thick, scaly tail, her skin becoming a bright shade of green. She was no ordinary girl. She was a giant snake in human form. "I will endure their laughter for now," she hissed to herself, "but their day of reckoning is near." During the wedding of a prominent villager, Olama reluctantly attended, wanting to celebrate despite knowing what awaited her. The moment she entered the compound, heads turned and whispers filled the air. One of the chief bridesmaids, a proud young lady named Adora, sneered loudly enough for all to hear. "Why is she even here? This is a gathering for humans, not creatures from the forest," Adora said, prompting laughter from the crowd. Ola lowered her gaze and clutched her wrapper tightly. Children giggled and tugged at her clothing, mocking her height. Unable to endure any more humiliation, she left the wedding abruptly, tears streaming down her face. She ran into the forest for her refuge. That night, beneath the iroko tree, Ola transformed into her true form, coiling her massive, glittering body around the trunk. She vowed, her voice echoing like thunder through the trees. A week later, Ola went to the market to buy yam for her aunt. As she approached a vendor, a group of women began whispering and pointing. One of them, known for her loud mouth, spoke up. "Look at her, even her shadow is stunted," the woman shouted. The crowd erupted in laughter. Some villagers pretended to trip over her shadows, while others intimidated her work in exaggerated mockery. Ola's hands trembled as she handed over her coins to the vendor. "Be strong, Ola," she told herself, suppressing the urge to lash out. But deep inside, her rage burned hotter with each insult. Not long after the market incident, strange things started happening in the village. Chijoke, the boy who had mocked her by the stream, went missing. His parents searched everywhere, but he was nowhere to be found. His friends whispered that they had last seen him heading into the forest. The villagers speculated about wild animals or forest spirits, but Olama knew the truth. That night, as she sat by the Iroko tree, the memory of Chijoke's terrified screams brought her a twisted sense of satisfaction. You wanted to laugh, didn't you, Chijoke? She hissed into the night air. As the days turned into weeks, more villagers disappeared. Adora, the proud bridesmaid, was next. She had gone to the stream to wash her clothes, but never returned. Her parents found her belongings by the water, but there was no trace of her. Rumors spread quickly. Some claimed it was the work of an evil spirit, while others blamed the gods for punishing the village. No one suspected quite little Ola. She continued her routine, fetching water and tending to her aunt, all while hiding a sinister grin. Let them wonder, she thought. Their laughter will soon turn to silence. The fear in the village had reached a boiling point. Desperate to stop the mysterious disappearance, the elders called for a council meeting. Kedi, the eldest among them, suggested that they consult the village priest, known for his connection to the gods. The gods must be angry with us, Kedi said, his voice filled with worry. We need to seek their guidance and beg for mercy. The priest Onwoye prepared to conduct a ritual in hopes of discovering the source of the calamity. As the villagers gathered, Ola watched them from shadows, her heart filled with malice. She had already begun her revenge, and the villagers' fear only fueled her desire for more suffering. On the day of the ritual, the villagers gathered around the priest as he began chanting. The air thickened with tension, and the priest fell into trance. After several long minutes, he spoke, his voice trembling. I have seen it, he whispered. The curse is not from the gods. It is a human spirit, one who was mocked and tormented, a spirit of vengeance. A chill ran through the crowd. The priest's words confirmed what many feared. The curse was not from a distant god, but from one of their own, a woman whose pain had transformed into something far darker. The villagers exchanged fearful glances, but no one spoke the name that lingered in their minds, Ola. The very next day, the village was shaken by the discovery of a body near the village outskirts. It was the body of Nkim, one of the market women who had laughed at Ola's expense. She had been found sprawled out, lifeless, her eyes wide open in terror. Rumors spread that the woman's death was a warning from the spirit of vengeance. It is her, the villagers whispered. Ola has become a monster. The village was plunged with panic, but Kedi, the elder, took charge, rallying the villagers to prepare for a confrontation. We must confront the evil among us, he declared, thus his voice betrayed in deep fear. The discovery of the market woman's lifeless body threw the village into turmoil. The once lively atmosphere was now thick with fear. Mothers kept their children indoors, and men formed groups to patrol the area, carrying torches and machetes. The village elder, Kedi, urged the people to remain calm. We must not act in haste. The gods are watching, and we must seek their guidance. In the midst of chaos, Ola remained calm. She pretended to share in the village fears, even joining the search parties. Yet at night, she slithered through the shadows, her revenge far from complete. Obina, a skilled hunter, was one of the brave few who ventured into the forest to seek answers. Armed with his bow and arrow, he wandered deep into the trees. determined to find the source of the disappearances. As he reached the Iroko tree, he noticed strange marks on the ground, long, winding trails, as though something massive had slithered through. He knelt to inspect them, but before he could react, a hissing sound froze him in place. Ola, in the snake form, emerged from the shadows, her massive body coiled around the tree, her eyes glowing with malice. "You should not have come here," she said in a voice that echoed in thunder. Obina tried to flee, but Ola struck swiftly, her fangs sinking deep into his shoulder. The hunter's cries echoed through the forest, silenced moments later. That night, the village priest had a vision. In his dream, the gods revealed the truth about the evil plaguing the village. He saw Ola, first as a small quiet girl, and then a very terrifying giant snake. The girl spoke. "The people have brought this upon themselves. Their mockery and cruelty has awakened the wrath of a cursed being." The priest awoke in a cold sweat and immediately summoned the elders. He recounted the vision, and the elders were shocked. Could it be true? Had their own actions created this monster? "We must beg for forgiveness," Owonkedi said, "but we must also act before it's too late." The villagers gathered at dawn, led by the elders and the priest. Armed with charms, prayers, and weapons, they marched into the forest, determined to confront the evil that haunted them. Ola sensed their approach and transformed into her snake form, waiting for them beneath the Iroko tree. As the villagers arrived, she rose to her full height, her scales shimmering in the sunlight. "You dare to face me now," Ola hissed. "After years of torment and mockery, you think you can stop me?" The villagers trembled, but the priest stepped forward, holding a sacred staff. "Ola, we were wrong to mock you. Forgive us and let the gods decide our fate." But Ola was beyond forgiveness. "You must pay for your cruelty," she roared, launching herself at the crowd. Chaos erupted as the villagers fought, desperate to defend themselves. The battle raged, with many villagers falling to Ola's fury. But the priest, chanting ancient prayers, managed to strike her with the sacred staff. A bright light engulfed her, forcing her to revert to her human form. Ola fell to the ground, weakened but still defiant. "You may defeat me today," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "but the scars of your cruelty will never fade." With a final effort, the priest called upon the gods to seal her fate. A sudden storm swept through the forest, and Ola's body dissolved into the earth, leaving behind only silence. The villagers returned home, shaking and somber. They vowed never to mock or mistreat anyone again, knowing the cost of their actions. But in the hearts of many, fear lingered. The memory of Ola's wrath would haunt the village for generations. The end. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please drop a like, leave a comment, and hit the subscribe button for interesting stories like this.